So when Bhatia approached me about this, I was wondering how Bhatia exactly captured my thoughts. So I am Rajagopalan, working in Schindler India Private Limited, which is elevator and escalator manufacturing company. And past 3 years I am in India, and before that I worked in Singapore for 5 years, and in hardcore elevator professional for almost 19 years. And when I thought of this, exactly the thoughts were in the screen, right? So how we can embrace the quality culture, it's by doing the things right at first time itself. So how do we sustain it? By doing it every time. So this is the famous statement of mine for almost last 3 years. Everywhere I go, everywhere I meet a person, I used to say this statement. Why this is so important is with the modern technologies, modern way of working and everything, nowadays we are forgetting the basic foundations. So people are thinking about the futuristic technologies, future way of working, and then our way of thinking is getting into that direction and forgetting the foundations. So basically we, when organization met for a cultural differences and everything, I thought about the new millennials coming into picture for workforce, and every time they want to challenge themselves to have a passion and way of a continuous working, right? So when we were brainstorming about all those things, what is the elements of quality culture? So why it is important is ultimately to have a customer satisfaction. So that is the aim of a company, right? To give a greater customer experience, we do provide the quality services to the customer, either in terms of a product or in terms of a workforce or in terms of anything else. So finally, the ultimate aim of the company is customer satisfaction. So how do we provide the greater customer satisfaction? It's by having a greater employee engagement in the inside organizations. Without having an employee engagement, we will not be able to have a customer satisfaction, right? So if we do have both these things, will it be making successful? No. What the culture we have in the company, what the quality way of working we have in the company makes greater employee engagement and the customer satisfaction. How do we do that? It's a basic compliance and the risk management. Whatever it may be, it's a simple SWOT analysis or a bigger kind of employee engagement activities or anything can be there. How do we do it? It's a small improvements which we carry on a day-to-day basis. So this is the basic elements which we want to carry out. But do we need to have a greater tools to manage all these things? For me, it's no. We don't need to think too much of a things. So what initially we thought of is, we came up with the basic 5S concept. So this is what the need of the hour. So even in the today's technology, when we are talking about AI, machine learning, advanced data analytics and everything, if you don't have a proper data quality, you will not be able to succeed in that. So the quality of data is too much important. Either normally in the previous days, 5S is known for the manufacturing setup, but it's even applicable for your even a desktop management. Where do I store file? How do I store? How do I track it? All those things are important. For example, if I am going to give a pricing decision for a customer, I need to search the quotation where I stored it, right? So I need to have a methodology for it. So I need to store it regularly in a year of folder. So there should be a formation of things. So 5S is the simple technique which we unknowingly following in our tradition. For example, if ever we go to kitchen, always we have the set of bottles which have an identification of which is what and all those things. And without knowing it, we will go and pick that, where we will be storing water in the fridge. So all those things are indirectly in our behavior. But when it comes to a desktop management or office environment, we expect others to tell all these things. So how do we drive these basic things which will enable many of the rest things? So basically when we start with this foundation of quality level, automatically the next thing which we believe is quality management system, which we spoke, Mr. Anand spoke about quite a lot. But quality management system is nothing but an entire set of a documentation, how your organization runs. So basically what I used to tell my colleagues is, even from HR or operations, when a person joins new in a company, you give your quality management system manual to him. He has to perform after reading it. Whether it's in an onboarding, or whether it's in a sales process, or it's in a maintenance process, or it's in a anything, whatever the activity he is going to do. If I am being hired as a sales engineer, if I am giving a QMS system for a sales process, I would be able to go through how do I make quotation, what are all the tools required for it, how do I offer to a customer, if customer is asking for some discounts, to whom I need to approach for approvals. So all those things should be in that process. And if I make processes or the QMS system works in a way that I learn from that, I follow it daily. Instead of getting an IMS certification, if I create it for the daily process following, that would be the best QMS system in the company. And if we try to do that, automatically the employee engagement will happen in a nicer way. If I don't have a confusion in the way of working, why am I going to exit the company, right? So I will not do that. So I have a clear roles and responsibilities, I have a clear tools, I have a clear process documentation, I have a clarity to approach to whom I need to go. So if everything is there, I don't need to worry about it. So how do we make it more sustainable? The quality management system is a simple PDA cycle. So nothing else. So what is the objective of each and every function? Do we have that objective, KPIs for the relevant functions? And how do we act on each day on it? So do I have a work instructions for each and every activity related to it? Am I doing a proper SOPs? Am I following it? Am I thinking about anything on the improving all those things? So that's the part of it. So we thought of implementing this quality management system in the entire operations, but the challenge is, we based in Mumbai, but our operations are happening across India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So we have a workforce of 4,500 people across India. So how do we manage this QMS system in those people, in those 4,500 employees? So we created a specific auditors team who was traveling to each and every branches and trying to identify what are all the gaps in the day-to-day process and what are all the things people are doing it as a different way of, so for example, one person might be feeling comfortable in documenting the process evidences in a different way. So how are they doing it? Is there any gap or is there any improvement which I can do on the process? So that is what we are doing in that audit during the check phase. And acting is when we audit all these branches, the specific audited teams goes to all these branches and come up with a kind of a common findings across India. And top 3 or top findings we take every year and try to improve the process on it. So the simple PDA cycle we defined in a way that our internal audit team follows it. So once we do this plan and do check act is a very important thing to keep people engaged. And this act should not be a kind of a big change happening. So it should be a very, very small change. What should we do for that? It's a simple case and process. So we will not think about a major disruptions in the way of working. We do a simple improvement. We monitor it for smaller amount of time. We see the effectiveness of it. Then we roll it out across India. Then again we come back. Either we achieve that KPI or not. Then we take another small improvement. Then we do it. So this is how you will be able to improve your efficiency. And mainly when we thought about any kind of an improvement, always we go out of the box. Yes, that will work. I'm not saying that it will not work. But to keep your workforce moving, the kind of a workforce you have in a major quantity, we need to think about the smaller steps of improvement. How do we do that? Eliminate the waste in the process. So if you identify any irrelevant activity creating kind of a trouble or anything, so probably you can remove that. And one more thing is, when major kind of a problem comes into a picture, we always thought about making a major revamp, going for an entire change, putting out a lot of projects on it, all those things. So instead of doing that, go step by step. For example, if you have a bigger elephant in a room as a problem, you cannot take all the bigger elephant to it. So take into a pieces of elephants and solve those in step by step. So that's how the entire quality culture works in Schindler, and that's the reason why I always believe, if we think about the smaller steps of basics like 5S or a QMS system or a PDCA cycle or Kaizen, these are all the things can make magics inside the company. We don't need to have a bigger kind of a thing. Yes, Six Sigma, all those things are needed, but that should be for a very specific level of KPI. But to improve the culture in a company, this is the basic thing which we need to follow, which we need to drive in each and every one of the organization. Because when you are talking about a smaller group of people, 10 or 20 people, it will be easy for you to drive the change. When you talk about 1,000, the change magnitude is getting increased. When you talk about 4,000, it's again. So when the number of people are getting increased, the way which we need to work is to make stronger foundation. If we don't have the stronger foundation, we will not be able to build a greater quality culture. And if the foundation is not strong, you will not be able to sustain the quality culture which you are creating also. So that's the basic thing which I want to explain today. So it's all about doing it right first time, every time. Thank you.